beautiful morning, the first snowfall we've got, and I wanted to talk about the video I posted about the thermodynamics of money, war, and climate. It was a disruptive video because normally I'm posting about the melting ice on Greenland, Arctic climate, but I took the decision to post about Bitcoin because I want the environmental concerned audience to understand some key misconceptions and how participation in this network, this new monetary asset, is of vital importance to your future and the positive things about it. Climate solutions, they're all double-edged swords, I've learned. We've been planting trees and it's not always 100% positive when you plant trees. And you can read all about that across the internet. In fact, there's so much FUD, that is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, about planting trees that it's just been astonishing to me. But there's an element of truth to those downsides of solutions. The climate narrative is a lot about the problems. And I'm super interested in engaging in the solutions as well. And you have some extremely interesting solutions via Bitcoin. And so my video is mainly about how Bitcoin demonetizes war. And when you reduce war, you reduce the huge carbon emissions from the war machine. You reduce conflict. It gives societies a chance to engage in climate more at the same time that we're not destroying things. We're not destroying environment. The climate movements made a mistake by focusing too much on carbon alone, when of course the issue of environmental degradation is about biodiversity loss, other chemical contaminations of the ecosystems. It's such a long list of problems that humans are responsible for. But to get off of the self-loathing narrative, humans bad, and to talk about the proaction, the solutions. And so let me lay out a reality that Bitcoin uses the largest fraction of renewable energy of any industry on the planet. More than 2/3 of its energy. I've heard numbers like 3/4. Today, Bitcoin mining is only economical when it's using cheap energy. What energy is cheap? Renewable energy is cheap. And it's not taking away the renewable energy under high demand. It's using renewable energy when demand is low, and so the price is low. Again, Bitcoin mining is only economical when the prices are low for the energy. Walking my dog, that's why I did this 360. And I was accused when I put this video out about the thermodynamics of war and money and climate that I'd done a 180. I've actually done a 360. I'm still facing in the direction where I value environment. And the Bitcoin miners are shutting down when the energy prices go high. They're running under those windy conditions, those sunny conditions when demand is low. And by buying electricity from providers at that time, they are financing the rollout of renewable energy. flare gas, methane gas, so at oil refineries. That's a wasted energy. And so instead of wasting the energy, you can use it to create value through Bitcoin mining. Landfill gas. You capture landfill gas, you run a turbine, you mine Bitcoin, you create value instead of that methane going into the atmosphere and heating up the climate. Creating value, rolling out renewables faster. That's a reality. I think the larger point, the more important point that the video I produced makes is about the energy use by war, the energy waste by war. And the military-industrial complex, the war machine, is financed by money by decree, so-called fiat money. That means money by decree, when central bankers, commanded by politicians, we need more money. And that fiat system has been the dominant system starting in World War I. This is a fascinating piece of history. Okay, so World War I, the English realized they're going to lose the war because war is damn expensive. They realized, though, that the public's not going to go for a tax hike to finance this war on continental Europe. I mean, it didn't mean a whole lot to individuals in England. A conflict started in Serbia. And so the politicians were like, well, we're not going to convince the public to sacrifice their financial well-being for war. We'll just temporarily go off the gold standard. They did so. They won the war, and they never fully returned to the gold standard. The economic prosperity that continued after World War I reached its blow-off top in the roaring 1920s, period of peak prosperity, right? It was fueled by money printing. The economic disruption of coming off of the gold standard contributed to the roaring 1920s. The blow-off top was the Great Depression. This was a consequence of coming off of the gold standard. So this continues, this era of fiat money printing. Officially, the US goes off the gold standard in 1971. The war machine is able to continue to be financed unfettered. We've had forever wars, endless wars. The war machine feeds on easy money. So we're going to reduce war and thus carbon emissions and thus environmental destruction and thus the need to waste the assets of our world by returning to a hard money standard. That's the direction that the world is going right now. It's actually just beginning, and it's not too late to participate in this. And I think what you're doing is defunding war, and you're financed by becoming an investor in Bitcoin. You're helping the rollout of renewable energy to happen faster. These are counter narratives, because why has Bitcoin been smeared by media and corrupt politicians? Elizabeth Warren in the US is an excellent example, and I used to be a big supporter of her. I was hoping she would become president. Well, she becomes the chairperson of finance committee and gets in the pocket of banks, and there are examples of her and JP Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon just slamming and smearing Bitcoin and saying it's used by criminals and terrorists, when the reality is that, well, any money is used by criminals and terrorists. And there's a long history of the dollar being used by criminals and terrorists. The fact that the Bitcoin blockchain is audited and auditable means that there is a digital crumb trail from Bitcoin, and there isn't for cash. So criminals and terrorists preferred monetary medium is cash, not Bitcoin. So they're smearing this. They're putting in FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, to program the world to turn away from a technology for peace, technology to democratize money, a technology to separate money and state. It's evil what politicians have done by promoting perpetual war, by smearing a technology for peace. That's what you have, and it's just mind-blowing to fall down this rabbit hole. I strongly recommend it because I actually have hope for the first time in my career as an environmental scientist. Also recognizing the complexity of how solutions are two-edged swords. No climate solution will be all benefit. Name one. I thought it was planting trees, and there are some downsides, like, oh, you're planting a non-native species here. That's an environmental taboo. Just think of it. These trees, they're going to run away and grow and block our view, and that's one of the oppositions that you get. And I honestly am not comfortable having these intense critical conversations like I'm getting in the comments of the video I posted. It's not my definition of a good time to get criticized and trashed by people that don't fully understand a new disruptive technology. So my message really is study Bitcoin objectively, and you will learn a lot about history. You'll learn about the difference of fiat money versus hard money, and how a return to a hard money standard is a return to respect for thermodynamics, like the conservation of energy. Any hard money, gold was hard money until about World War I, when politicians began to take the world off the gold standard. Hard money, it took a hell of a lot of energy to mine gold. Why do people assign value to gold, these shiny rocks? Because it's more or less portable as coins. It's fungible, that is, this piece of gold is equal to that piece of gold in value. It's scarce. That's a key factor. Gold is a scarce commodity. It's verifiable, but the point is, the scarcity is key, and that's why they call it hard money. Bitcoin is hard to mine. The embedded energy is worth it because it ensures the scarcity. A key point is the physical connection of this money to the real world is its energy requirement to ensure its value. The value of gold ensured by the fact that it took a lot of energy to concentrate, to mine. So the physical connection of the money to the world is energy, and that's why I called it negentropic. It's like when you grow a crystal, you're creating an ordered system from a chaotic system. That's the opposite of entropy. Entropy is the degradation of, say, the crystal, breaking into fragments and dissipating into molecules. But when you move in the opposite direction, you're creating an organized system, and it costs energy from the surroundings. So you get a local negative entropy in a monetary asset. And so it's thermodynamically sound. The connection of that asset to the physical world is the energy required to create it. So it would be nice if it took less energy to create hard assets, but the reality is you're up against thermodynamics, and good luck if you want to try to get around it. And actually, it was the fiat money system that weak politicians brought us to by getting off the gold standard and therefore putting us on a monetary and economic system that did not respect conservation of energy. Societies need energy. Try to run a city or a household with no energy. It's clearly shown that the prosperity of a group, of a nation, depends on its ability to harness energy. To trash a technology that is energy intensive, that has a huge list of value propositions, the value propositions of Bitcoin. What's emerging as the primary value proposition is store of value. You can put your economic energy, your time, into storage, and you can recover that, your work time, at a point in the future. You can also teleport it in space. We exchange our time for money. Like, I'll shovel the snow if you give me a few bucks. So you're exchanging your time and your energy for money. So money is an expression of your energy time. And there are fascinating parallels about that with the thermodynamics of energy and money. Because, negentropy is actually negative time. At least entropy defines the direction of time. Time moves in one direction, have you noticed? But you can reverse time locally at the expense of the surroundings by a negentropic process. Essentially, I use the analogy of a plant growing. Good day. So a plant grows and it creates an ordered system out of the chaotic environment, by drawing energy from the seed, energy from the sun. So it's extracting energy from its surroundings to create an ordered system. That's a negentropic process. Okay, back to the value proposition. Very important value proposition of Bitcoin is bringing financial services to the unbanked. The majority of people in the world lack access to financial services, and now that most people have a smartphone, you can have a digital wallet on your smartphone and be able to transmit money internationally, nationally, locally. So you have a bank in your pocket. You know how mobile phones have dematerialized record players, CD players, books, scanners, all kinds of things are being dematerialized into cyberspace by technology, by digital technology. Banks are being dematerialized. You have a bank in your pocket, not a bank account. You have a bank in your pocket now with cryptocurrencies. You get peace. This is peace technology by demonetizing war. How do you demonetize war? Well, when you're on a hard money standard, war is exposed as wasteful. Of course, it always has been. War has always been expensive. But when politicians figured out that they could just conjure new money being off of a hard money standard, they opened the doors to not only endless war, but all kinds of policies that were borrowing against the future. That's an interesting thermodynamic parallel, because entropy is time. It's pointing into the future. You're spending energy now that can only be recovered into the future. So they're spending into the future. They're it's like a negentropic sleight of hand, the borrowing from the future to pay for a war or some wasteful product in the present time. And because of this departure from a hard money standard, we ended up with a lot of flimsy buildings and flimsy products. Goods become less durable because it's no longer as uneconomical to produce products that are not durable. Waste becomes uneconomical on a hard money standard, and that's really the base of my thesis, why it's net positive for nature to be on a hard money standard. And it's net positive for humanity, but not just humanity, net positive for nature, because we're not destroying nature so much, and we're not running wars, which are the way to just vaporize capital. It's just so dark